Greetings, friends, and welcome to Dicefunction Discussion, the official Dicefunctional podcast, where a bunch of friends sit around and discuss their D&D game, share it with you guys, and give you guys a little bit of insight into our wonderful little game that we have here. Thank you very much for tuning in to this most recent episode. But before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping. Starting most recently with previous episode, going into this episode. I know it's been a little bit of a hiatus, but just so you know, with us answering questions here on the podcast about the game, if you're interested in having a question air on the podcast, you can always tweet at us at Dicefunctional, or you can always leave a comment in the most recent VOD. So over there on our YouTube. So if you are interested in getting a question on, I'm going to be checking those here, and since it's every other week, with episode 64. So I'll be checking the comments on those hopefully before we start. So if you got any questions about anything that's been going on, I'll let you guys know who's going to be on there, and we'll get those questions answered. That could be a little bit of fun. But yeah, this episode, we're going to be discussing episode 61 and 62. We've had a lot of interesting stuff happen in those past two episodes. With me here today, I have Becca and I have Jalli, voices of Dea and Maddie. And then Conor, our illustrious DM, will be joining us here in a little bit. So, guys, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Yes.
Just surviving.
Surviving and vibing.
That's a mood. For any of you who are listening to this a little bit after, hopefully a little bit after this will become old news. Recording this, we're in the middle of a bunch of states locking down here in the U.S. due to COVID-19 and the coronavirus. So just surviving is a kind of a good thing at this moment. But speaking of just surviving, to bring it to something that's a little bit less, what do I want to say? A little bit less real. Let's go with a little bit less real. The Fortune's Blade actually had a good time for an entire episode. It's been a little while since that's happened. I feel like
Had a little vacation.
exactly, exactly. With episode 61 being when Fortune's Blade went to the fair. And rigged a bunch of games and went a little crazy and won some stuff. It had a lot of fun. And then episode 62 starting off with a date, but then getting right back
really
to
a date.
I mean, we can hope.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah. And Dea definitely not. But with trying to think. Yeah, we started off with the date and then went right back to being super duper dark and serious. As everything seems to be with Fortune's Blade lately. It's been a lot of, all right, hey, cool, you have a moment. Oh, guess what? You're staring down death again.
Things have gotten so much worse while you were gone. Yay!
we can't take more than 2 days off, otherwise everything goes further to shit than it's already going. Oh my gosh. Anyway. So I guess let's start with this. So this is kind of for the both of you. Becca, we'll start with you on this one though.
Okay.
So how great was it for your character and like in character to actually have a good time? Like actually all of the whole team together, it seemed like had a good time kind of all at the same time. How important was that in your case for Dea? How important do you think that was for her?
Probably very important. Especially with all the shit she's gone through recently. But like, just she's not very good at relaxing and having like a good time.
Gee, I never would have guessed.
Yeah. If you've ever seen She-Ra in the first season, the episode where they try to get Adora to relax, it's a lot like that sometimes. Um, the new She-Ra, I should mention that the old She-Ra. but like it was just kind of like a reward for the past few days, it felt like almost. Um, so like she wasn't even really thinking of her own enjoyment. She was basically there to like facilitate others' enjoyment, strangely enough, which makes her sound a lot more like selfless.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's honestly kind of what I was getting from her. Um and just kind of like yeah, like it's a fun time, but like the dragon came in and Rose really into him, so I'm gonna like make sure that happens and stuff like that. And like as always, like making sure um you know Maddie doesn't get pickpocketed because she's a sweet bean who doesn't
Always
even know what a
important. Yeah.
pickpocket looks like, and I'm a tough street rat who knows what to look for and all that kind of stuff. So, and it's kind of I like to think she's always sort of been like that with people she considers her crew. Like, she doesn't partake in a lot. She just oversees it and makes sure everyone's having fun and, you know, not dying.
All important things to do, by the way. All very, very important things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was almost it was like a break to normalcy almost in a way that having a mission like isn't the same.
Yeah. No, I agree with that entirely. It's especially when you look at what all Fortune's Blade has gone through. Even the even the couple quiet moments that they've had, even then it's been kind of fragmented in some way. But this has been something that's been literally the complete opposite, and I don't know about you, but for once in some of these challenges and some of the things they were doing, it's kind of starting to set in a little bit. It feels like for at least a few characters that like, oh, we're actually pretty starting to get pretty powerful here with all of this stuff. This isn't just some, oh yeah, we're fighting the the local strongman. It's like, oh yeah, no, we're taking on this big stuff, and I'm just gonna breeze through this challenge type of thing.
Yeah, a little
A little bit, a little bit.
bit.
Yeah, but Maddie, what about Jolly? Or Jolly, what
Oh.
about Maddie? Same difference.
Maddie,
um,
tell us about your player.
oh
Come
my
on,
god.
Maddie.
Um,
You have to answer this one in character.
I like to think that she just wants to spend as much time as possible with the group because she doesn't know when if they're ever going to like leave or probably die at some point, which is probably the last thing she'll think of at the moment. But um yeah, she just wants to spend as much time as possible because obviously even after the festival now something serious is gonna happen. So ah now I have to worry about someone dying now. Oh my god.
Yeah. Hey,
Oh god.
surprise. Guess what? The stress is right back there. Oh, and
I
it's
mean,
probably worse.
she's already stressed out about the mom thing. There's more stress. Like, come on, are you kidding me?
It's all bad.
It's all bad.
I gotta think of
Yeah.
a wish. I gotta get my mom out of hell jail. I gotta keep these fucks from dying in a city that's probably gonna be trying to, in the entire city's trying to kill them. Oh, and we had to like rescue people that, hey, guess what? Healing magic doesn't work. Well, fuck. What am I supposed to do?
I probably might die.
This is
Yeah.
fine.
Everything's fine.
Oh, yeah.
God.
Oh, yeah. No, it's stressful time. Definitely an ebb and flow. And I feel like towards the end of obviously session 62 you could you could start to feel it a little bit, and everyone's the stress is starting to get there again. Where it's like, okay, but for once, we're starting to do that. Okay, do we have everything that we think we're gonna need? Okay, we have a general plan. We're all actually on the same page. All right, let's do it. Um, and I'll let you guys answer this too. But I know for me personally, I'm feeling a little bit more confident going into this. Not in terms of like, hey, we're totally gonna like breeze through this, but I feel a little bit more like, okay, everyone's not even necessarily on the same page, but we all kind of have our heads screwed on, and we're kind of going, okay, this is gonna be rough. This is gonna take a little bit. So let's just take this one piece at a time and just all try and get each other out of here alive. That in itself was kind of comforting for me. I know personally. What about you guys?
I haven't thought about it that much, but I think we're kind of at the level and experience where a lot of us, if not all, 'cause I'm not going to speak for everyone, but kind of knows what their character can do and is good at. And so how like knowing that much and knowing like what the party can do goes a long way, I think, when starting a new dangerous quest line. And also having backup plans and backup plans and backup plans.
Yeah, yeah, always a good thing. What about you, Jolly?
Um, I'm just more worried about the healing part because obviously my mentality of trying to heal and make sure everyone's alive is the only thing I'm concerned about. And knowing that this is probably going to be the part where maybe um Maddie might eventually know that Radiant Soul might do more than just do flying, probably double damage. She doesn't know that yet, but I know it has to do with damage. And um I think that's a learning experience that she has to figure out on her own. That's obviously like what Doug told her, like, I mean, you're not ready yet, but sooner or later you'll find out eventually.
Yeah, go full on Mercy Valkyrie mode and just start beating people
Yeah.
down. You know.
Whip out the pistol.
Whip out the pistol.
Give Maddie a gun 2020.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, a gun just firing off, doing radiant damage from way up in the sky. It's like, oh yeah, this is normal.
Oh, she
She got a
also
chef's
she has
hat on too. What
she
the?
has she has Dawn now, so that's that's gonna
Oh
be
yeah.
fun.
Fuck everything in this particular area.
Oh, it always makes me. It gives me that feel of like in Final Fantasy and some of the like the earlier ones where you have the one range, you have like the mage, and they have the kind of medium ones, and then they get like some of those big AoE ones all of a sudden where like you're essentially just taking the entire power of the sun and like dumping it on these guys. Like
Yup.
that's kind of in my head where Maddie's gonna be now. It's like, oh god.
Yup.
I mean, yeah, her mindset is gonna eventually shift to okay, it's not just all about the passive. You have to do damage at some point.
Yeah. It's gonna be that moment when Gail's finally in trouble, or Daya's finally in trouble. One of the two of them. She's just gonna start beaming people down. It's like, what the fuck?
Eventually.
Hell yeah.
Although for either Daya or Gale to be in trouble, I feel like that's gonna have to be a really bad situation.
Yeah, I feel like either of those two.
I mean, I think. Well, Daya. No, I think it's mostly Gale because
Mostly
Daya. Daya's been in trouble several times before, just because she has the health pool of a wet napkin. So
True. That's true.
it takes like 2 hits, and it's like, oh, I'm in danger.
I was harking back. I was just thinking immediately about the misfortune fight and how Gale and Mercy were doing fine, and then Daya's just getting beat all
Just
to
getting
hell in that
wailed on.
fight, and then couldn't hit anything, and it was just like,
No.
come
I
on.
took it out of invisibility
You
with
did.
like 5 damage, but I did it.
That's very important. Oh my god, that whole fight. I still feel like that was like our most cohesive fight,
It
like
was
in
good.
this entire campaign. Like we did so well in that fight.
Yeah.
We'll get back there one of these days. Um,
Just
who
need to
knows?
not
It might be in
overthink
this one.
things.
We might have to be that good. You never know.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's dropping into a city. So before we get into questions, one last thing I wanted to ask you guys while we're um just kind of catching up with you guys. And I hate to call it a vibe check, but kind of a vibe check. So we were leaving off session 62, literally dropping into the Meston estate, like coming right into that. For where your character's at, is it excitement? Is it nerves? Like, what is it? Right as we're dropping in, and literally, it's like being, you know, hella dropped right into battle. Like, what is kind of their mindset at the moment? Something I'm curious of. Beck, if you want to start.
Sure. I mean, Dea is a seasoned fighter. And obviously she's not really done anything quite like this before exactly, but this is sort of where her leadership qualities uh shine is um you know not like being able to shove aside like nerves and stuff. Like, this is battle now, like this is strategy, and you just got to do what you got to do. um and she's thinking this now, before she's really seen what the enemy can do, before anyone's gotten sincerely hurt. But like, it's that sort of thing where it's like, this is business, this is duty. Like, we're built to do this, we're meant to do this. Let's go. Let's kick some ass.
Yeah. What about you, Jolly? Where's Maddie at?
Um, I don't think she'll ever feel like she's strong enough to do or to be like ready for something, because obviously when she heard that the healers are the main target of the problem, or like they're going to encounter major obstacles in this mission, that she's more concerned that maybe it might be the last mission and she might die. But like that's the one thing she's worried about, just dying necessarily, and probably not coming back home, which is gonna be a sad thing to think about.
Yeah.
Don't worry, BB, I got Revivify in this rack. I'll get you. Get you back up.
Got this. Well, that'll all be coming in session 63 and beyond. So, for those of you who are interested in it, don't forget episodes live Saturdays at 4 o'clock Eastern time. And you can always tweet us, even in the middle of that episode or any episode after that, if you do have a question for future episodes of Dicefunction Discussion. You can always tweet us at Dicefunctional with an underscore. Easiest way to get your questions in. But let's get to the questions for this podcast. We got a couple from Cole, asking one to each of our guests and Conor when he does show up. So first, we're going to start with the question for Becca, voice of Dea, or is it Dea, voice of Becca? I'll let you decide, because apparently I get those mixed up in my head. So, your question for Becca, voice of Dea. Dea has been very self-conscious about her pact with the hunter, despite being very flippant with said deity. Aristotle, just so people know who the hunter is. How does she explain the contradiction there? In addition, does Demos's gift help her feel more comfortable about it, or make her feel more self-conscious about it?
So I was thinking about this question earlier, and I have a very simple answer for the first part of the question, uh, which is like what's the coolest way to phrase this?
I'm a rebel, baby.
Don't you think that her self-consciousness and her flippant attitude are stemming from perhaps the same reason?
Mmm.
Oh, there you go. Oh, Connor, you just missed my cool statement.
Just dropping into the perfect time. That's how that works.
But yeah, she seems very like self-conscious about her pact, but she's very flippant with the hunter. And the reason for both of those is kind of the same. And maybe it'll come out a little bit more in characters as we play similar. So I don't want to go too deep into it because I just want it to like play out and maybe have an in-character moment about it. But we'll see. But in addition, did Demos's gift help her feel more comfortable about it? I don't know if comfortable is the right word, but I think it did give her kind of a more confidence about it. Because it's like, I mean, she went from never having any magic whatsoever to having magic kind of, all of a sudden. So getting like extra help about it does kind of help her feel like she can use it and she can have more control over it and get more use out of it. And I guess that about sums it up. She
Yeah.
doesn't like wow, English. She doesn't like asking for help, very obviously. But I mean, it's not every day that a dragon's like, I can help you get better at something, and it's like, well then, get me better at magic.
Hey, it's not a bad thing. Especially when it's a magic that you were given to. It's sort of like, oh yeah, here's this complicated thing, and then you're like, all right, well, how do I use this? And then somebody
Here
comes
it
along,
is.
it's like, here,
Anyway.
let me just. It's like matrixing, just the whole like, I know kung fu now. Yes, I did make a Matrix reference. You're welcome.
And Jill isn't here to appreciate it.
I know, it's a shame. Well, she, just like everyone else, should be listening to these podcasts because there's some fun stuff that happens. Anyway, next question from Maddie, voice of Jalli. Because yes, I'm gonna continue with that bit now. So for you, Jalli, Maddie has talked to her father. She's talked to the group. And she talked to Cal about the wish, but still is extremely hesitant to use it. What's the biggest thing holding her back from just trying it? Is there anyone else she'd want to talk to about? Even somebody who maybe she's talked to before.
Oh, God, this is calling me out. Because man, this wish is so hard. I think the thing she's worried about is the outcome of the wish. So she's trying to think of what would happen depending on how she translate the wish. Will there be consequences? Depending on what the wish is, because obviously both Cal and her dad just wish her back. Do you think it's that easy to wish her back?
Just say the wish, forehead.
I mean, yeah, it sounds easy, but then like, okay, what's gonna happen right after? Will her mom be safe? Will she be different? Will they come after her? She doesn't know. She's she's scared. The outcome of that wish might affect her her group and her father's safety, so she doesn't know what to do. The nervous wreck for sure.
That happens though. It's
She
it's
wants
a big responsibility.
Yeah, like the wish, like what? Like I don't know. It's you can twist the wish too. So she's thinking really hard about it. But other than that, she would want to talk to maybe Doug or probably the other friends that Emily has. Just to like be aware of, like how much danger. Like okay, like what does the mom know? How bad would it be if she was already like gone or she went missing? Like what's the danger level to it? How badly do they want her? Is what she's wondering at the moment in terms of um I could easily wish my mom back, but I don't know how badly do they want her though.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, all good answers. And I think it'll be interesting when Maddie does finally make the wish. How exactly she'll word that and what exactly will happen. It'll be fun to figure out. Yeah. Well, thank you for that, guys. And we do have Conor, if you haven't heard him already, finally joining us. So before we ask you any other questions, we do have a question for you, Conor, from Cole. So the question goes, were you always planning on killing off some of the other blue cloaks to help set the stage for the Rosenvales? Or was this merely a continuation of a thread that the group kind of left loose?
It kind of depended on what was occurring at that time, what threads are loose, who was still rolling around, who was still out there, and what risks were still prevalent. The Salzari didn't. They weren't, damned from day one. They weren't immediately going to wind up in the situation, but just by the circumstances and how things started panning out, things started looking worse for them. It was all just a matter of circumstance, bad luck.
Yeah, and that happens whether it's roll of the dice or just how the story goes. So that makes sense. What would you say? So we'll move on from that. What is one game that happened during the festival that you thought making it either, yeah, they may not win this one, or which one would you say that you were most surprised by how the outcome, or what the outcome was, I should say?
Well, I mean, you guys dumped so much money into the race to just completely trounce your opponents.
It worked.
True.
Really, I'm shocked that I didn't see more stubbornness with the climbing minigame.
Oh, I didn't want
No, I shouldn't say shocked. I should say like more surprised that you guys didn't keep trying.
I would have, but I was very conscious of taking up time.
Yeah. Because since the festival's over, I can say it now. At the top of it was a set of boots of spring and striding. So there was a good reward for making it up to the top.
Yeah, I figured it was something good,
but I'm not surprised by the grease pig thing. Nor am I surprised by, what was it? Grease pig.
bear
Wrestling. That was fun.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. I'm shocked that no one decided to try and wrestle Cleavon. Would have been funny to see who would wrestle Cleavon.
Well, Dale wasn't gonna do it, but
I was thinking about it, but I was like, nah, I already took down the dire bear.
There wasn't going to be really anything. You wouldn't win anything. It just would have been funny.
Yeah,
it would have been so funny.
Yeah, there's nothing valuable to it. You're not going to get a prize.
yeah.
Well, if you
wrestling
want
some
to.
hairy dude.
One hairy dude wrestling another hairy dude.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like entertainment in the South.
It could be.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
But yeah, no, it was ultimately all fairly expected. Save for just I expected you guys to be a bit more stubborn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
it's an ever-evolving thing.
yeah.
Yep.
I kind of figured you get like kind of your one shot, just to not take up so much time.
You know, I could see that. I really don't care all that much. Like it's not the end of the world in my mind.
That's fair. I know that though too. We also have a pretty big group for D&D. For those of you that might not be familiar with groups in D&D, having 7 players is a lot. And we've even been as high as 8. So it's like there's a lot of ideas and stuff like that that are being thrown around at the table. So it's important to be conscious of it, but sometimes when you're having fun things, it's good to get everybody involved.
Yeah.
It's kind of the joy of it. So yeah, as far as questions, that's pretty much all for questions. But let's kind of transition into this. So we've taken care of everything that we've needed to down south. And obviously, narratively, everything's starting to take a shift. I'll start with, I have a question for Conor, and then obviously it's going to be a little bit different for Becca and Jalli. But Conor, as far as sitting in the DM's chair and kind of looking at the group, maybe compared to, I mean, we've been playing this game, good gosh, almost probably coming on close to a year and a half now.
About a year and a half.
Yeah. Even compared to like a year ago, what would you say in terms of what you can say about how the group is taking preparation for this upcoming arc, mission, whatever you want to call it? Is there anything that you're particularly impressed by, or is there anything that you're particularly like panicky about?
I'm
like,
not
the specific thing, but like, where's your head at going into this?
I'm impressed by the preparation that you guys are trying to have ready for this, because it's good to see. What I hope to see is that if the worst comes to it and someone does die, you guys handle it properly. Because death happens in these games. That's how it is. I'm not actively planning on murdering a player character. But what happens happens, and I have certain NPCs ready who think in certain ways. So I want to see how well the players adapt to it. Because it's not as simple as just charging in. There are even some things where there are probably some very bad ideas that could feasibly work out. Like the best example is splitting the party. It's a terrible idea. There are some situations where I could see it working. But it's so risky that in this situation, you guys probably won't touch it.
Yeah.
I think if someone suggested it, I can probably name you half the party who would be like, no.
Yeah.
Never.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, that's that.
There's a good chunk of the party be like, fuck no, are you crazy?
Yeah, exactly.
We saw what happened when you started splitting people up and when we were just trying to steal shit,
Oh.
There's that high potential for really, really bad shit. I don't know. For me personally, and then we'll get to for Jalli and Becca. I think from a player's perspective, going into this, looking, back a year or some preparation for this, I think we're in a way better spot. And I feel like when it comes to just making those split-second decisions like we've seen, or kind of adapting, or our ability to adapt, I feel like we have a better plan going into it. And I feel like as a group, lately, especially lately, it feels like we've been a little bit better at adapting to those things, and I'm kind of interested to see what happens in those when we do inevitably have to make those split-second decisions, kind of going to what you mentioned, Connor, of, okay, well, everything's bad. I have this stupid idea, but it is probably the best idea that's here. So I'm going to do one thing really dumb, but this is probably my best choice, and see what happens.
Rolling by the seat of your pants can make for some of the best moments in Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
And even if it can be a little stupid at times, it's all about having fun and not taking it terribly seriously.
Mm.
I mean, there's a certain point where you have to you have to take it seriously. Like, you can't just, play a character running around with a dick on his head and expect everybody else to be okay with it. Yeah. But you do have to roll with the punches and improvise. It's one of the best things that a player can have in their arsenal, is just being able to throw something that the DM isn't expecting. And it can make for some of the best events. It really can. And honestly, that's something that I don't see I don't see as much with you guys. I don't see you guys doing a lot of the off the cuff things. Most everything you do, I can plan for, which is safe in one way, and it's a little sad in another, because I enjoy dealing with the hectic nature that you can sometimes see in a D&D game.
I think we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yep.
Becca, what about you?
Can I hear the question rephrased again? Because I've lost the plot. I'm
All
sorry.
right, so no, you're fine. We kind of meandered here and there. So going into this mission, kind of compared to where we were a year ago, in playing this game, preparing for whatever missions it was that we were going into, whatever situations it was we were going into. How do you feel comparing the two, comparing our preparation for this mission versus where we were a year ago preparing for missions?
It is hard for me to say. I think we feel more prepared, because this is, especially since this is a mission that we've been kind of putting off for a year, or maybe even longer than that. So this is something that we've been kind of actively avoiding, but now it's like, okay, it's time. So even if we're kind of nervous, we've got this mindset of like, it's time. We're choosing to do this now. This is on our terms. We're going in. And I think that kind of goes a long way. But if I am to be a little brutally honest, I'm not entirely confident that we've learned from our past mistakes. Um, we we've say we have, but I don't know if we have or not, and we will very quickly find that out. Um, and I do hope, as Connor kind of mentioned, I do hope that, like, if someone does die, that we kind of handle it, and I think we will.
Yeah,
So we'll see.
I think it'll be good. I have faith. Jalli, what about you?
Well, it's a bit different of what we're used to, but I think we'll be fine. Character wise, she's not always prepared. Mentally, she's not, but then if someone dies, she has to be prepared for it, especially if it's her case. That was one of the things that I'll be sad about, but it might happen, it might not happen, but who knows.
Yeah.
And that's what I gave the Iron Stone today.
Hey, Becca.
Yeah.
Dea is attuned to the Ion Stone, right?
Yeah, it's in her wayfinder, so the attunement
Gotcha,
slot
okay.
we agreed was kind of just the one slot.
Okay, just want to make sure.
Yeah, don't worry. I got this.
Ready.
Yeah, but I also wanted to do that scene with Finn for like the longest time now of like having that, I might not come back, but we don't know, but maybe I'll come back home safe. Hopefully.
I'll
That's
make sure of it.
I mean, we got to the island and I wanted to do a scene with Finn, but I didn't get the chance to. But then since we're coming into a very dire situation, I was like, yeah, okay. I think it's time to talk to Finn now about this.
Perhaps.
That could be important,
Yeah, I might die and not come back, so might as well do it now. Yeah.
That's fair. Hey, it's a good thing, and it shows some growth of Maddie. I feel like just to show, hey, instead of just the, oh yeah, like I'm kind of figuring this out. It's like, no, I recognize that there's some danger to what I'm doing, and hey, I may not, but I'm gonna do my best. So that's
Yeah.
important.
That was also like kind of part of the mentality of why, like, the death was coming up. Like it just fit. Like it fit thematically, it fit with the story, it fits in the moment, because there's nothing better to make the players suddenly start considering their own character's mortality than by reminding them that even the people who are doing the same job as you are not safe.
Yeah, that's why it was brought to my attention that this is probably gonna be pretty bad for Maddie's situation since she heals, and knowing that one of the healers didn't make it, I'm concerned.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting. I'm interested to find out all the secrets about it too. Figure out what's actually going on. Like actually come face to face with it.
I'm gonna punch this guy. What is that noise?
That is a noise of reaction.
It's
You,
just
you
the
certainly
voice going.
will.
Yeet the sky.
God, I didn't mean it though.
Good. It's good to hear.
Oh man, that'll be interesting. Watch Dea just go out and just like Eldritch blast the sky.
Hey, if you greenlight that third party spell we saw, where I just launch myself into the sky.
Oh, are you talking about the
Do it.
jetpack spell?
Yeah.
I still don't know about that one.
No, I wouldn't be able to take it without reskinning it anyway.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
doesn't fit. She doesn't
Launch
do
yourself
fire
at the
damage.
enemy.
She's got a fiery spirit, but she doesn't do fire damage.
Lots of
Not her style.
fire everywhere.
Fire bad, fire hot.
Fire bad.
Fire bad. You heard it here, folks. It'd be interesting though having the a pact with a hunter god, but using fire. It's
Great
not
for
necessarily-
forests. Just set fire to
Yeah.
the thing and hunt the things that come out. Who needs
Totally.
trees?
In fairness,
No, I know there are some animals that do that, and some ecosystems do rely
yeah,
on fire.
firehawks. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to say, in fairness, Aristel isn't only a hunting god. He's hunting, farming, trade, and family. So,
Yeah. You know what's good for family? Fire!
fire.
Fire!
Fire.
Good for trading? Fire.
Fire!
Oh my
I'll trade you this because I just destroyed all of yours. Here you go.
More like trade me your thing, or else it goes up in flames.
You could
Sucker.
trade fire.
I could
There you
get
go.
Fire.
It's just like launching fire at each other. You're trading it, right?
Yeah, you light the cannonballs in fire, and then you go fling. And just,
So what was the noise the cannon makes again?
fling.
There you go. We need that as the official sound of cannons in this universe, please and thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I think it's good. I'm glad that we're back to playing D&D, and I think we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up. I'm excited for it.
I'm so glad to be back. I'm gonna
Mhm.
shoot spells.
Do the things. Got all the powered stuff again. Plus, we had a level up not too long ago. I don't think.
Yeah,
This
it
is
was
the
like a
last
few
level.
sessions ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it wasn't
have,
very long.
it wasn't. So this will some of the when we actually get into combat. That'll be some of the first times we actually get to use all of the new stuff in combat too. So
I've still, to date, since becoming a warlock, I have used a single spell. One single spell. And I've never used Eldritch Blast.
it's a shame.
Yeah, but I've upgraded my Eldritch Blast, so it will actually be of use to me. I haven't used it yet because at its level 1 state, it was it felt like wasting an attack, but now I'm a
Mhm.
little bit better at that. So I have and it can pull people now, so I have use.
Yeah. Why beam somebody when you can stab them?
Yeah, but now it brings with it some extra utility. So it'll be fun to start using that in battle.
Absolutely. Connor, question for you.
I just realized there's a god named Nut in D&D. What was that?
What?
There's a what in D&D?
There's a god named Nut.
Is a god named Nut?
Nut.
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 It's definitely from like Egyptian gods, but still like at some point there was a god named Nut.
Nut.
I feel like that would be an interesting god to run into. I don't think we could get through that episode without just absolutely dying.
He would be introduced and then ripped to fucking shreds.
God.
You know what we're like.
Yes.
Yeah, I
It
know.
would be awful.
We have like the least like naughty people in here right now. You know, Jace has restraint. I mean,
I do.
uh,
And
but
all
like,
you guys immediately went Nut.
yeah,
Nut.
we did that. Imagine how the rest of the party's gonna do it.
Terrible. it wouldn't work.
Oh my god, the amount of puns that would be.
Oh god. Yeah, it's also it's one of those kind of deities that like I stay away from those like Egyptian deities, stuff like that. It's like, I'll pass. Thank you very much though.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not interested.
Just too much room for like, yeah, we're gonna take this off in a completely other direction. Oh no.
Well, also it just like it brings up too many questions.
That's
These
fair.
guys exist. Okay. What well
What
why
about these other
why
ones?
do they exist? This doesn't work. It causes too many problems. No thanks. I'm good.
Oh, that's fair. Well, there will be lots of room for causing problems starting this Saturday with episode 63, where that's right. We're going into the belly of whatever this beast is. Fortune's Blade's going to be doing some interesting stuff, and I know for a fact that I'm very excited about it. I hope you guys are excited as well. But that's all we're going to have for this episode of Dicefunction Discussion. Thank you, Becca. Thank you, Jalli. And thank you, Connor, for joining me, talking a little bit about the past couple episodes. And thank you, all of you, for listening, giving us your ears, and enjoying our show. Thank you.
Thanks, but we're going into episode 64, not 63.
64. We're going into 64.
Yeah.
Whatever episode it's going to be, because as is canon on the show, I never know what episodes we're talking about, so it's okay. We're going to continue that trend. We're going to continue not knowing what episodes we're talking about into the next episode of Dicefunction Discussion. But until we come back with more Dicefunction Discussion, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you all next time. Bye.
I'm gonna heartburn.
Bye. Bye-bye.